Yo, welcome back, quarantinis, to the UFC Casual Show. Yeah, we don't have any fights coming up. This is all for fun. We decided to do a show, get together, have a good discussion, have some fun.
We can just kind of bullshit without like having to rush through a fight card. Now we can just bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, hey, hold on. The fight is still on the fence, all right? Don't be killing people's hopes and dreams.
It's not.
There's a guy with an axe sitting at the bottom of the fence ready to chop that shit down.
And his name is Corona.
Yeah, this shit, it's pretty much done. But anyways, man, we're just going to have some fun. So we're going to go through this. We're going to do a little bit of news notes, what's going on around the UFC, and then we're going to move into our top 5 favorite fights each. Get a few minutes to talk about that. I think that'll be fun. A little bit of...
I'm excited for it, man.
I hope we have different lists.
I do too. I
don't know. Honestly, I think
I know we won't have it in the same spots, but I hope we have some different fights.
I think knowing the two of you, your fights are going to be completely different than mine. I'm probably like mainstream fights. You guys are like
no. Well, I didn't pick any Joanna fights, so you're good there. You have all 5 of yours are fine.
If you really look at like the list, like I looked at a list of like top fights of like what people have voted on. Like a lot of them are like main, like they're the fights you think that would be up there, and there's some there that you're like, oh, really? Like, that's
same likewise. But no, I honestly, I'm gonna, I don't want to be a spoiler, but I didn't pick Joanna for my top 5, being that her best fight was just one that was recent, and So you don't want recency bias? No, I mean I poured my heart out for it. Everybody knows how I feel about Joanna, so every one of her fights are my favorite.
We'll get into it in a few minutes about what our criteria is.
Yeah, what our criteria is for everybody. But anyways, thanks for joining. So big news. One, Dan, welcome to the show as an official part of the show. You're not just a guest anymore.
Yeah, and I'm not a guest either, Dan.
So now we have 3 regulars on the Casual. Originally, you did just come on as our second guest, and then you just lit a fire into it and brought some new energy. So we were like,
he's here to stir up some shit.
Absolutely, he is.
We agree too much. We're on the same page all the time.
Yeah.
Dan's here to break that up.
Absolutely, 100%. So
Dan's like,
welcome to
the show. ESPN First Take, where they're like, I agree with that point, but I'm going to argue with you anyway.
You're our Skip Bayless, except I like you.
I just got to learn a little bit of etiquette here. Let you get out what you're saying, and then I'll thrash you afterwards, just cutting you off here. So it's a learning curve.
Is that New York?
Yeah, we talked about a little bit that we would have argued about that post-fight show if I was here for it.
Yeah, Sean was texting me, by the way, after that post-fight show. He was just sending me texts God, I wish you could basically read in the text, paraphrasing here, God, I wish I was there.
Yeah.
So,
we would have had an interesting conversation.
Yeah, but it's fun. Hey, that's what it is. So welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys for having me. I'm excited. As always, thank you all for listening. Keep listening. You can actually, we just got some exciting news aside from being able to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Podbean, Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcast.
Next big one's iHeartMedia. I think I'm really pumped about that. I think Spotify and iTunes, I think, are really the big ones. Spotify recently purchased another company. I forgot who it was, but it was a big podcast company because they're really trying to get into. And everybody has Spotify accounts for the most part. I have Amazon
or
Music,
Apple,
or Apple.
You have one of the two.
Exactly. But I think iHeart's a big one for us to get into, so we're on there. More ways to listen to us. We're trying to make it as easy as possible. I'm pumped about it.
No excuses.
Yeah.
No excuses.
I had a football coach once that said excuses are like assholes. We all got one. So no excuses here.
And I use it all the time.
Oh, God. Stinky motherfucker.
And they stink.
As you can see too, we also have a new table. We wanted to get something
and some special guests.
Yeah, special guests. We'll get into that. This is a metal table, so thanks to my buddy Jacob.
It's almost shaped like the octagon.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, he said that he wanted to shape it like the Millennium Falcon because the first thing I said, I was like, "Oh, cool, you got the octagon in the front," and he was like, "Oh, it was supposed to be the Millennium Falcon." I'm like.
Yeah, it needs to be a lot more detail.
I don't have a podcast about Star Wars,
thanks,
so
it's awesome. What the Millennium Falcon will look like if they made it out of an octagon.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, this thing ain't flying through space.
What's your 2 favorite things? Star Wars and MMA in one.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not complaining. That's why I said. I mean, granted, this thing ain't flying through space. So you try to pick this thing up afterwards, it's a flipping nightmare. So, but
is this the metal that was used on the space shuttle?
It might be. We can heat this shit up and find out if it burns or not. And then, of course, too, we have some new guests on the table. We're trying to add some decoration decor in here.
We'll be adding to the list.
I had to keep John Jones and Daniel Cormier as far away.
I was literally just about to say, even with these little action figures, you still have to keep them separated. You just don't know what's going to happen.
100% I did. We got BJ, Jose Aldo, and we got GSP. I got Anderson Silva coming and all that stuff. So, but anyways, yeah, that's all the cool stuff, man. Let's start talking. News and notes. I think the first thing I wanted to address real quick, Nico Price signed a new 4-fight deal with the UFC. That is awesome.
Yeah, let's hope those rumors of him fighting Robbie Lawler are going to come to fruition whenever they come back.
That'd be wild, yeah.
Yeah, but don't leave out, for all that you don't know, the reason that we're probably such big Nico fans and why it's such a big thing close to home is he's a local to us.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it.
We're in Cape Coral, Florida. Oh, you guys have?
Yeah, because he fought on one of the cards that we did.
Every time I was like, I don't care who he's fighting, I'm going to pick Nico every time.
Yeah. He's a wild man.
Yeah.
He's
the type of guy that he's like Clay Guida, doesn't really matter how much he loses, he's going to stay.
He's like Chris Lytle.
Yeah.
You know?
He's one of those kind of gatekeeper dudes, they're going to put on a show.
Yeah.
Except even when he gets knocked out, he put on a show.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. But that's the other thing too. Is he has some wild.
Jeff Neal.
Jeff Neal knocked out Mike Perry cold, dude. That was fucking. That was cold blooded.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
But even when Nico knocks people out, dude, it's just wild.
Oh, man. Dude, that up kick was the nastiest
elbows. What about when Randy Brown was on top of him, up against the cage, and you hit him with hammer fist?
Yes, that was great.
Yes. Everybody's just like, what the hell?
The sound of those hammer fists, dude. Jesus.
Oh
I think it was with his left hand too, and he's righty, isn't he?
Because
I think he was hitting.
Yeah, I think you're right. If I remember, he was coming on the side
I saw waves in the air when he was hitting that guy.
Dude, but the sound, you could. I don't know. I guess it was just because it was quiet, but you could hear the sound of those hammer fists. And Jesus Christ!
So it was like a thud.
Yeah,
almost
so
Will was kicking him.
Our coach, the guy, our first guest that we had on at the beginning of the year, he trained with Nico a little bit. He was like, "Yeah, Nico's a little small for 170." I'm like, "No, he's not. He looks huge at 170.
He's got a big upper body.
Yeah, he's strong. He's strong.
He's got a weird body because he's pretty long. He's lanky.
Yeah, he is, which is good for a fighter.
He's got wide shoulders and long limbs.
Yeah. So he makes for a good fighter. At least how his body.
Those awkward guys always do well.
Oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, that was it. And then, of course, Daniel Cormier is talking about that, trilogy fight with Miocic. And
I just saw Stipe said that he's still seeing spots, so he still needs time.
Yeah.
Before they.
Yeah, but Daniel said that if he doesn't hear I believe by May, June, he's probably just going to end up calling it quits.
Well. I'm sure that will change with all this that's going on because they're not going to be having
for sure.
fights.
But I think he actually said it in the midst of all this, just maybe a week or two ago.
Well, granted, I don't think he's going to be waiting 2 years for.
He might be waiting to see how the virus is doing. Maybe if it looks like he can fight before the year's over, but maybe if it looks like this is going to be a long-term thing, maybe he'll just say nah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't think it really does anything for his legacy to come back.
No.
I think it's more for himself.
Yeah. You don't want to see a Floyd Mayweather comeback or a Michael Jordan type comeback.
No.
Well, they never had that kind of comeback because Jordan never really lost. I mean, he won all finals that he was in.
Well, I mean, when he came back to the Wizards, he was not that good.
No, but he wasn't coming back to the 92 Bulls or whatever they were that went on that run.
I don't think Daniel Cormier's Miocic second fight doesn't have the asterisk next to it that any of his fights with John Jones does. He's pretty much said that is over, that whole thing with John Jones, and I think honestly that's kind of it at that point. John Jones was really his biggest opponent, biggest rival. So
yeah, I don't think when it comes to his legacy, I don't think people are going to talk about the Miocic one much.
Well,
especially because he was winning it. He was winning most of that.
If he used his wrestling, he would have won that fight easily.
Yeah. But see, the only thing is that that really threw me for a curve in that fight is same thing as Jones. He saw because Daniel Cormier was fighting a good fight against Jones in fight 2.
He was winning that fight.
And Jones just saw a weakness in him, same as Miocic did round 4. He just saw he was leaving his body open. So I leave, honestly, the third fight up in the air. I don't think if Daniel uses more wrestling or something, that Stipe can't figure out a game plan to take him out.
Oh, no, I definitely think Cormier has a fantastic chance because, again, he won the first fight. He looked like he was going to win the second fight easily, and then...
He was dominating those 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he came in with that box, and I mean, those body shots were just unreal.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. Cormier doesn't seem to be able to adapt that well sometimes.
Yeah, and the thing is just like Stipe was throwing a lot of those body shots, and Daniel just like had no idea what to do.
Well, it's a pick your poison, because as soon as you start dropping that, you're leaving your chin open, and that's where the real damage comes from. And maybe he thought he could take those and withstand them, because you really don't see somebody drop just from one round of body shots. Usually guys are...
Yeah, but where he was hitting them, it was like right here, like almost like towards the solar plexus.
Yeah, but you don't see a lot of guys in MMA go down from body shots.
Cormier really can't take those, because, I mean, even look at his fight against Anderson Silva. I mean, Anderson came on short notice. It was just after his surgery.
Yeah,
the guy
kicked him in the stomach.
train. Yeah, kicked him in the stomach, and that almost like put him down. And Cormier ended up just wrestling it out because he's like, I ain't standing up for it. So, I don't know. Some with his body. Maybe he's not really good at taking those body
which
shots.
you think a big guy like him would take it.
Yeah.
Big gut.
I don't know. But that was all the news and notes I had. I know you guys kind of wanted to tackle some of this stuff. Sean?
Yeah. The king of staying relevant. Staying relevant, man. Even though there's nothing going on. Connor's out here tweeting again, tweeting about Khabib and Tony, saying the fact of the matter is both Tony and Khabib were engaged in a game of chicken here towards the fight belt, which he did call in his last press conference before he fought Donald that he was going to step in when one of these guys stepped out. He said it would happen. With Khabib chickening out first, making it 3-2 and pull out in Tony's favor, Khabib scurried out of the U.S. to home and amid the crisis. Very high risk. Congrats, Tony. He also threw his name in the hat for UFC 249, so we'll see what happens.
I was waiting for it. I was sitting there like, what the hell is this guy doing?
I think everybody thought he was going to be the first one to be like, fuck Justin Gaethje.
Not Justin Gaethje or Dustin Poirier coming in there. Oh, there's a whole bunch of flurry of fighters like trying to step up. I thought Conor would have been the first one to be called out to say something.
Dana doesn't want Conor to step up on short notice because he wants time for there to be like a press run. Basically, like time to build the fight.
Well, that's where all the money comes in, man.
But in this situation, because that pay-per-view is going to sell 1 million, I think, either no matter who's fighting.
Everybody's at home.
Yeah, nobody has anything. There's going to be people who've never even watched MMA and be like, all right, I'll buy it.
I'll watch this Conor McGregor guy. Yeah. 100%.
Or even if it was Tony and Khabib, they're like, I'll watch this.
Yeah.
Because if that fight really went through that week of the fight, ESPN would be blowing that shit up.
Oh,
because it's a week before the draft, so they don't really have too much to talk about. That's all that they would have.
Are they still doing the draft?
Yep, they're doing it like separate. Like I think they're doing it from like their war rooms maybe or something. Like
oh damn, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're gonna be like they're gonna have like a cameraman like in somebody's house.
They do
each one.
For the top prospects. They said they'll have a camera. I think at their homes.
God, that's crazy. But
I mean, you think you can do the NFL draft?
Yeah, but back to the 249. Yeah. I think it's crazy that Dana White's even trying to keep this thing together. I mean, hey, if you can get it to go off, it's going to do fantastic. Everybody's hurting for some sports right now. Like nobody has sports. There's nothing going on. I think that's what
he sees it as an opportunity for the UFC to take another step.
He just sees dollar signs, but a lot of these guys, even a lot of the fighters, don't want to leave their house. They don't want to do this shit. They don't want to risk themselves and their families. I don't blame them. So I don't know.
Sure at the same time, those people they need a paycheck.
They do too. That's the hard part, man. Like a lot of these fighters only get paid when they freaking go to work, and that going to work is only 2 to 3 times a year, depending if they have an injury.
Which all these fighters who had scheduled fights should get paid their show money.
So I read UFC London fighters are going to get show get show money, so they're going to get paid. But
I think all of them that they had scheduled should. If they get canceled. Yeah,
especially after they just announced that they were going to pay out $300 million in dividends to celebrity owners in the UFC. Hell yeah, the fighters should get paid. $300 million is more than enough to pay those guys. So, but anyways, so that's it. I think that's really it for 249.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean,
nothing else.
Yeah, they're not really talking about anything.
Yeah. I mean, but they did. The only one thing is they did switch up, I believe, like the like if it does go through, like some of the fighters that they're going to have on there.
Well, yeah, they're going to stack it with whoever they can get on.
Ngannou wasn't supposed to be on it.
Yeah, they were supposed to be
talking about Walt Harris possibly being on it.
John, what were you saying that Daniel Cormier?
Yes, Daniel Cormier was on Ariel's podcast. He's like, Cormier, what would you do in this situation? And he's like, I'd get every willing fighter in the U.S. and I tell them I'm making 3 stops. 1 in California, 1 in the middle of the country somewhere, and 1 in Florida because there's a lot of people who fight there. So I get whoever's willing to fight and tell them you got to carpool to one of these places and we'll pick you up. Like if you fight out of New York, you get with somebody, you carpool down to Orlando. We'll pick up Jacare because he's a big name. We'll get him to fight, and then we'll leave.
Jacare would be down.
Yeah, I was like, I'll tell him if you don't make it, Jet's leaving without you. So you figure it out. You bring 1 coach with you. That's what you get. You get 1 coach, and you carpool down.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was funny that he said that. I was like, that's probably a good idea.
Obviously, he was joking when he said it. But, have some camera problems?
I was just adjusting a little bit, so flipping stuff over. So, but anyways, yeah, no, I thought that was pretty funny that you said that. But I mean, hey, that would be a pretty good idea, though. Like, we're making one stop before we're.
Dana had considered it.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's desperate. He's desperate to make that money.
Tony, meet me at LAX. We'll go pick up. Who else was on that card? I don't even remember.
I don't even remember, to be honest, because I feel like that thing's been a shit show ever since quarantine started going around for a conversation. So, hey, and you know what? I don't blame, we talked about this too, I don't blame Khabib for going home either. So
it's just a weird time. You just don't know what's going on.
No, for sure.
Nobody knows how to really handle this. So
no. All right, but anything else?
Sidetrack.
Sidetrack. What's
I don't know if you guys want to go down that path, but before all this shut down, we did have that Kevin Lee against Charles Oliveira fight. I don't know if you guys had any feelings about the last 4 fights with Johnny Walker, Renato Moicano, Damian Maia getting knocked out.
The last 2 fights were, or no, it was the last 3
and then
fights?
Kevin Lee calling it quits for a couple of years here. So I don't know if you guys wanted to chat about that.
Whoa, he officially called it quits for a few years?
So he said that
he's taking 2 years off.
To like train or get his head right? What's up?
Both.
Dude, he looked so fantastic against Gillespie and handed him his first loss.
Dude, Charles Oliveira is no joke.
No, he's not. He's a veteran. He's been around for a little bit.
He's peaking.
You think so?
Yeah, because his striking starting to match his ground game.
Yeah.
I was surprised when Gilbert Burns put out Damian Maia that way.
Gilbert Burns, he's got some pop.
Yeah.
And Maia,
he called out
40.
Kobe.
Gilbert Burns has been calling out everybody. That dude wants to fight now. He called out Cowboy. He called out Ally Quinta, I think. He's been calling out everybody.
Burns has been around for a while. Why not after you knock out Maia?
Yeah, he wants to stay busy, man.
Maia's probably only got one. I think actually he does have. Who did he call? He had one. Oh, he called out Diego Sanchez for his retirement fight.
Oh yeah, he wants to go out with a win. With a dub.
That's exactly what.
I'm just curious what Dana's going to do with Johnny Walker after another loss.
That was a bad loss.
Yeah, Johnny Walker, I think, just needs to get his head straight. Man.
You see it. This is every time with MMA prospects. They come in hot, and then as soon as they lose, they just don't get that confidence back.
But you know what? That goes back to the conversation that we had before, and that's why the UFC needs to stop rushing guys. You know, because to me, Corey Anderson shouldn't have been a threat to him, but he's also a veteran guy. To your point, and he's fought everybody
with a bad style for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though he knocked him, he beat him at his own game. But
yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, like we were talking about this before. Like boxing, I kind of like they set these guys up for fights that they can win. They give them different style guys, see how well they do, give them a little bit of confidence boost.
Before they go to their big fights, they know exactly who they are and what they excel at and where they struggle.
Yeah, I feel like here they push the pedal to the metal too fast.
Well, and you know what the problem is? It depends on the division you're in. Like if you're at lightweight or welterweight, that ain't happening because there's those divisions.
That's a true statement.
Stacked. Yeah. But if you're at light heavyweight, middleweight, or something like that,
where it's a little bit thinner,
yeah, you're gonna. Boom, you're going to get right to the front of the line. I mean, that's how Conor McGregor jumped to the front of the line at featherweight. Jose Aldo had cleared out the division, was having rematches with people until, this crazy-ass Irishman came cursing into the UFC.
Yeah, they're just now starting to build featherweight back up.
Featherweight's a great division, too, man.
Dude, bantamweight's going to be the division.
Yes.
Watch out for bantamweight.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. A lot of top
who
guys.
you got your eyes out on?
Piotr or Peter?
Yeah,
I don't even remember.
Peter, Marlon Moraes. Now you have.
There's a couple other young guys. I forget who.
Yeah. What about is Jan in that?
Yeah,
Peter Yan. What's his face? A tall, lanky dude.
Corey Sandhagen's in there.
Corey Sandhagen.
Is O'Malley in there?
Oh, Sean O'Malley. Yeah.
There's a lot of Jose Aldo's down there right now. He's about to go have that title fight. He said he's still training just in case they end up going through with that. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But
I don't think Chicago's doing very well.
No. No, it's not. But that doesn't mean the UFC can't change it.
I don't know. In today's earlier broadcast by Trump, he didn't really call out that state. He called out Michigan, New York, Louisiana.
Yeah, but Michigan's just now on the rise, that they said.
Yeah,
so.
But I feel like some of these other ones are kind of trending down.
Chicago's a big international city, though, so they'll get hit.
Yeah,
we'll see.
All right. Anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
Cool. Let's get into the fun stuff. Let's start talking. Yeah. Let's start talking top 5 fights. So real quick, let's go around. Let's talk about what our criteria is for our top 5. Like, what was your thought process in picking your top 5, and what were you looking at when you were looking back at these fights? Because I'm sure you guys watched them again. I know I watched mine again.
I actually didn't really rewatch them, but because I love these fights. I've watched them multiple times already as it is, so I kind of already know.
Well, you have your memory's like a fly trap. It just gets
for MMA. It is,
yeah. For sports,
yeah.
It
for
is.
Sports, it is.
Not math.
Sports.
All right. How about then we start with you? What was your criteria?
Well, nostalgia is a little bit of it, right? I know for one of your fights, I won't say it because we were just watching it, but it was one of our fights it was like the first huge fight that we watched, and it just has that first holy shit kind of feeling that you get from MMA. Obviously, the moment has to be a huge one. Like, what did it mean to the landscape of the sport? Like, did it help? Was it a big moment? Was this a big hyped up fight, or was it just kind of because I know if you look at like a list online of top fights, there's some in there that are like 3-round fights on like the bottom of cards. It's like, well, yeah, those were good fights, but were they great fight? Like, it has to mean a little something, right?
Yeah.
And I know, Dan, you said this before we went live that you had no recency, or like you took out recency bias from it. I actually put it in because there was a fight for me that happened recently that I was like, dude, it's going to be top 5 for me, I think. Yeah. I think it'll go down. If I'm looking at it like, well, eventually it will be, then why isn't it now?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure. I like that perspective. It's just, for me, it's so recent.
I know a lot of people say that too. They're like, oh, that's just recency bias. Like, you got to give it some time. Because like a lot of people said that about Gastelum and Adesanya. Because a lot of people were saying, man, that's going to go down as one of the top 5 fights all the time.
Sure, man.
And they were like, and everybody's saying, no, that's just recency bias. You got to revisit it after some time. Like, dude, that's still a fucking baller-ass fight.
Go watch that fight.
That round 5 might be one of the best rounds I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think the reason that I steered away from doing that, I like your point. That's a great point. Maybe I should have kept Joanna and Weili in there because for me that was a phenomenal fight for the women division. But the reason I steered away from it is because it's so recent. I want my followers to kind of click back into decades before and be like, holy shit, like I missed that. Because watching the fight that we watched on the TV, I don't think I actually saw that fight.
Yeah.
So like, I want people to actually see some of these fights that built up the UFC.
Well, that's
brought
the funny
it to
thing
the
is,
next level.
Mine has like fights from like all the eras, pretty much for the most part.
Pretty,
well, I should say all the eras, but somewhat all the eras. Like it's stretched over a long period of time for my top 5.
I'm excited to hear.
Yeah. What was your criteria when you went and picked? I know you kind of started getting into it.
A little bit similar to what he said. Fights that was a pillar for what the UFC was going to become, as well as a pillar for what some of these fighters were going to end up becoming, or what they were at that point. Another big thing is, I like fights that are vicious. People walk in there and they're just ferocious. Mm-hmm. And some of the fights that I think I put on my list met that criteria. And then at the same time, I threw some fights in here that like actually got me into the sport. Mm-hmm. With from my uncle actually pulling me into it. So I picked some of those. And also for the fact that like they evolved into other things. So I want people to actually be able to dive in and be like, oh my God, I didn't realize like that's what made that fight that fight.
Yeah. That makes sense. I'm not gonna lie to you. I went selfish on this one. Like I went to the ones I went back to. I was thinking about going back to Pride and looking at some of those fights, but I was like, no, I'll keep it in the UFC.
I thought about that.
There's so many good ones in here. I was mostly looking at like some of my all-time favorite fighters going back and picking some of those fights. So I have a double up in here for one fighter, but I just they have a reason, a purpose, all nostalgia. That's not to say like none of the recent ones have been great. They've been fantastic. Yeah. Like was it 2018? That was when we started ours, or no? Was it?
We started at the end of 2018.
That's
podcast.
Right. 2019 was insane,
dude. The month of March was last year.
Absolutely,
when they had crazy knockouts because they had 4 straight weeks. Masvidal knocked out Till. Gaethje had knocked out Barboza. There was 2 other knockouts. Oh, Pettis knocked out Wonder Boy. I can't remember the last one, but 4 straight weeks they had like knockout of the year candidate, like stupid main events where like people were just fucking throwing caution in the wind.
I feel like
crazy shit.
I think I remember saying at one point like quarter 1 and quarter 2 of 2019 was just balls
and
out.
that's
like,
why we kind of got
follow.
Yeah, that's why we kind of got like a lackadaisical quarter 3, but it finished the year strong.
I will say I think ESPN put the right type of pressure, put the right type of backing behind Dana White and UFC.
I'd say so.
Because I mean, when they were on Fox, they had great fights.
But nobody really watches Fox Sports, so they don't get hyped.
The build-up has been so different.
Because dude, you watch ESPN now, and any week there's a fight they have in the bottom corner. It doesn't matter who's fighting. It doesn't matter like what the main event is. They'll have it in the bottom corner, like this Saturday night or whatever time.
I mean,
on whatever channel.
Like watching what was that show? A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. What was that? What's the name of that show?
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, like Mr. Rogers. They would have like the boxing fights going off like in the middle of it. He'd be like, "Yeah, Mike Tyson's fighting this weekend." I'm like, "All right, man, I gotta watch that." At like 9 years old.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
No, I was kidding. I'm just saying, like that's the kind of shit that like ESPN's doing to get people bought in. Like people that don't think about UFC.
First Take's talking more MMA now, even just through Sports Center.
Stephen A. Smith jumped in there, and he got a tour up for it.
He was bad.
He was bad. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not doing that again.
Yeah, he ain't gonna do that.
He makes his money off of being controversial, so they should have never have done that in the first place because that's not really like UFC fans don't like that shit.
Yeah,
which a lot of people don't like that shit, but they watch it just to fucking get angry.
Yeah,
I like Max Kellerman.
Yeah, he gets under my skin sometimes.
Well, when he talks combat sports, because he comes from boxing, he's super knowledgeable in boxing, and you can tell like he has some knowledge of MMA. He's starting to gain some, and he actually has perspective on combat sports. So I like hearing when he's talking about it on First Take.
Yeah,
I haven't even listened to First Take in a long time.
Well, I only watch it for Max Kellerman because I like him.
I got sick of it listening to Skip Bayless years ago when him and Stephen A. were on it.
Well, he's gone.
No, I know he is. That's what I'm saying. Like I got my
The only reason that I will say that I don't like Max Kellerman, I don't like him outside of boxing. When it's boxing, he involves their entire...
Well, then he becomes a TV character.
Yeah, he involves their entire life cycle as a fighter. When I hear him talking about football and some of these other sports, it's just what happened at that moment, and he is so critical. It's
because it's not his forte.
It's too much, man.
It's like I said, when he's talking like combat sports, he's being himself
for sure.
He's giving honest opinion and like perspective. But when he's talking about other sports, he's playing the TV character.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
Turns me off.
I haven't even watched any. Like I just go on and read.
I watch it. I listen to it like when I'm driving.
Yeah.
Because I'm driving all the time and I get tired of listening to music, so I'll turn.
Ryan still has like a Nook.
I have a
Amazon Fire Pad. That's why. But anyway, so Sean, do you want to kick it off with the first one?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Talk right.
So, my first Diaz versus McGregor 2, the rematch, and a lot of people this doesn't make their top 5, but I think because this fight was so massive for the sport, and I know we had talked about it the night of the fight because we're like, man, who do you think, or like who do you want to win? And I remember telling you, like, I want Conor to win solely for the fact of the sport. Because he was our only superstar at the point. Ronda was gone. No Brock Lesnar. GSP retired. There was nothing. So he was the only, like, the real workhorse in the superstar department.
Yeah.
And this was a turning point for his career because if he lost 2 fights in a row, in combat sports, that usually isn't, you're kind of dead after that.
Right.
And he came out. He looked like the first fight, right? Like he was tearing him up. And then it looked like almost it was going to be a replay. Like Diaz just started turning it on in the end of the second through the mid rounds, but then Conor came back late and he ended up winning it. It was just a great fight, like nonstop action. Those guys; they're always some mentalities.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think the biggest thing about that one that I liked was at the time, Ronda did not want to come. Like the way she. Yeah,
I meant to talk about that point. How because this was recently. This was coming off of Ronda's loss.
Yeah.
So she had just gone media blackout after taking all that shit that she had talked because that's what you do when you're a superstar. You talk all that shit. You're confident, but when you lose, that shit gets turned back on you, and you got to be able to handle it. And she didn't, and it ruined her career. Like no matter what opinion you have of Conor, when he lost that fight, he said we're running it back, the same place, same weight. He's like I don't give a fuck, and you have to have respect for that because
100%. I think it was a big. I thought it was fantastic that he did that to counter the image that you had from Ronda Rousey coming like, she's crying now at this point and she's saying, I don't understand. Like, it's so hard. People hate me and, getting bullied and all that stuff. It's like, you've been bullying everybody else and you said this is your kid.
Well,
this is what you're doing.
And Ronda even, she probably did it sell pay-per-views, but she created this fake narrative that Holly was, fake as shit and that she was going to tear her up and all this shit. And she even called her own knockout. Which is bad. That's bad.
She's going to kick me with it?
She's going to try to kick me in the head, and that ain't going to happen. That's what she did. She did the head move and everything. So that ain't going to happen. And she got head kicked, so.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I think even if, because a lot of people still think Diaz won that fight. I personally don't think. I think Conor edged him out in that one. It was close nonetheless.
I think he won the championship rounds.
Wait, what?
Conor, I think he won like the 4th and 5th round.
No, he won the 4th. Diaz won the 5th, I think.
I just called that out.
Conor won 1, 2, and 4. Conor won 1, 2, 4.
Well, because it's the thing. Anytime you have a Nate Diaz, actually a Diaz fight in general,
he's got a cult following.
Yeah, well, it's hard to score those fights because it's a lot like Diego Sanchez, where they just throw a shitload of punches. They don't all land. Like they have, they're only going to land so many, but because they're throwing so many punches, it looks like they're so busy and they're landing so much.
And what helped him too is how tired Conor gets. Yeah, and how he was running from that fight a little bit too, because he was getting so
the 3rd or the 4th round? that he was doing the running like he
The
got
third.
gassed,
The
right?
third
Yeah.
was he was visibly like running to get out of like certain areas.
I remember thinking, I'm like, God, is he gonna gas? He has 2 more freaking rounds left.
Yeah, but he came back in
this.
the 4th round looking fine, and then the 5th round he kind of gassed out a little bit again. Diaz.
Sometimes you could get that second wind and go for a little bit longer, but that's a good pick. I like that.
Yeah, I could talk a little bit more about it, but I don't want to take too much time, so I'll let Dan.
Danny boy, first one. What is it?
Oh, we're doing it like that. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna go one round.
So I'd probably say, are we starting from 5? Are we going like best one?
I'm starting from 5.
All right, from 5. All right, so I'd probably go number 5. I'm probably going to put out there Clay Guida against Diego Sanchez, UFC Tough 9 finale back in June of 2009. It went 3-round decision, but as Ryan always says, just because it goes all the rounds doesn't mean it wasn't a spectacular fucking fight.
No, I think actually, to be honest, like I think all my fights went the distance. I'm looking. Yeah, all my fights went the distance. I think the greatest fights usually go long.
Yeah.
Maybe they get finished late in the fight, but
it's got to put me in my place on that last time.
If it's a 3-round
And
fight, it has to
stuck
go
with
at
me.
least 3. But I think if it's a championship fight or a 5-round fight, I think it's got to go at least 4 or 5 for me to be considered an all-time great.
Well, I'm so used to watching Tyson, it went like 1 round.
Right, 'cause I know that's not that we didn't say that in our criteria, but there's got to be some length. There's got to be a story, right?
Yeah.
So I will say, I mean, the thing that turned me
Ryan's
on,
going to argue with me on that one.
Let's go.
He's got something.
No, go.
I mean, because I mean, I linked all my fights to the actual fight on YouTube or MMA Core. So when we throw it up on YouTube, you'll be able to watch it and relive the fights that I think are the top 5. But the thing for me is like the first 45 seconds of this fight, they were just like, it was like all out war. I'm like, this fight is not going to last past 2 minutes. And they went like 3 rounds of just beating the living piss out of each other.
I think I remember that. Didn't they stand in the middle and just like throw straight punches at each
whenever
other?
the fight started.
And the thing is, for me, that cracks me up all the time is I would always think to myself, it's like, how the hell does Clay Guida even know what he's doing with his hair like in front of his face like that?
I say this. I'll be interested to see if you put Diego Sanchez versus Gilbert Melendez in there, because I think that was a better fight.
I don't know, but this was a great fight. 3 rounds of just straight ground and pound, stand and pound. It was an amazing fight. So
that's an interesting one for you to remember. Did you like watch that whole The Ultimate Fighter season or something?
No. I just for me, I had seen that fight. Like I said, when I started watching UFC, I watched it a lot with my uncle, and he just watched it nonstop. It was that and the Cowgirls. And it was just one of those fights that I caught with him, and it just always stuck with me. Like, whenever I'm very family oriented. Whenever I do something with family and like, it's like a really good time, it always just kind of sticks with me. And that was one of the fights that we caught together that just stuck with me, and it was out of control, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I'm a huge fan of Clay Guida.
Yeah, Clay Guida's wild, man.
I remember watching the fight,
man.
And I mean, I met him in Vegas too. We were at the Hard Rock at the hell. I forget the name of the party that they had there, but it's like the biggest rehab. So it's like the biggest party that they have in Las Vegas. And I actually met him there. He was actually just walking around like a normal dude. And I just walked up to him, shot the shit at, with him. And I mean, he's literally like up to my shoulder tall. Like, he's a little ass dude.
Yeah, I mean, he's only like 5.
He's fought at 145,
7,
so.
Yeah, 5.
And I mean, Sanchez did great in that fight. He won that fight either which way. I gave the fight to Guida, but Diego actually pulled that out in decision. But it was a phenomenal fight. If you haven't seen it, rewatch it. You're going to be glued.
I might have to rewatch. I haven't seen that one in so long.
Well, it's linked here, man.
The first minute of that fight is the wildest thing you've ever seen.
I remember that.
Yeah, but I don't really remember much after that either, though.
Me neither. It's been a long time since I've seen that.
It's non-stop action. Like I said, ground and pound all day, stand and pound. It was a lit fight.
Like I said, I think the Diego versus Gilbert Melendez fight I think that's a little bit better. That fight was wild from start to finish.
Yeah. Diego Sanchez is just a wild motherfucker,
yeah.
Period. He has a few screws loose at this point from those wild fights. But
claims he doesn't have CTE, but don't take that from him. So.
Yeah, his little almost nude photo with his coach was weird enough.
Hashtag Tiger King.
I was just about to say that.
Oh my god, he could easily fit on that show with his personality.
He reminds me of the dude without the teeth.
Dude, he would wrestle. He would wrestle a tiger.
Oh, 100% he would. He would have fun and fucking go in there and wrestle. He would. Yeah, he definitely would. That's not even a joke. I'm actually I'm hoping he doesn't ever go.
Yeah, like he would definitely have like the little.
Dude, I'm gonna see it. Yes.
You remember that? You be walking in there like that with entry music.
Oh my god, dude, he's such a character, man. I hope the best for him. But
all right, Ryan, what you
all
got?
right, yes, me. First one I
There we
picked. I picked BJ Penn versus Matt Hughes, number 3. Now, they had 3 good fights, so honestly, any 3 of those could have been it for me. BJ Penn was like my first favorite fighter.
Yeah,
and I think the reason like I picked this one was because it was the last time we saw BJ Penn as BJ Penn.
Yeah.
This was before he went on his 7+1 losing streak, because he lost 7 fights and fought to a draw with John Fitch, which I think he technically should have won that one, because I think John Fitch poked him in the eye or grabbed. I forgot, it was something, but he should have lost points. But anyways, this was the last time we saw BJ Penn as BJ Penn. Like, he was amped up. They've both been rivals forever.
They were like friendly rivals too, weren't they? Like, it was like purely competitive.
Yeah, no, it was for sure. I mean, Penn picked him up after he knocked him out clean after the 3rd fight, but I think it started out with some animosity, because Matt Hughes is one of those guys. He can get people riled up. I mean, he got GSP riled up back in the day, so BJ took the belt from him originally. I think it was a TKO the first time. Submitted him by rear naked choke the first time.
Didn't Hughes armbar him, I think? Or
no, he got him in a crucifix.
And
was punched him. And then that fight ended up getting stopped. And then, so the 3rd fight, they were coming in. Matt Hughes was looking good too, man. I think he was coming off of 3 wins in a row. And then BJ was coming off of his 2 tough fights against Frankie Edgar. So this was like the last time we got. To me, I feel like this was the last time we saw BJ Penn, man. Yeah, it was a sweet goodbye. Bittersweet goodbye to BJ Penn to come in here, see him striking, and then end up knocking him out.
That's interesting.
Yeah, just rolling around the cage, pumped up, and so that was mine. That's my first one.
That's it.
Back to you.
So here's where my recency bias comes in. I'm throwing it in there. JJ versus Whaley. I'm throwing it in.
Oh, you did.
Just
my man,
dude. They're just from start to finish. They just went at it nonstop,
and
it has everything you want from a great fight. Had a little controversy in there.
Yeah, 100%.
A split decision where people were arguing for both sides. Hardcore too. Like, there's no way this person won or that person lost. But I mean, just from start to finish. Plus, it was on a big card. They stole the show.
Oh, 100% they did.
I mean, the only reason people were talking about the main event was because it was so bad, and they were so good. That's the only reason that people were talking about the main event. But even you look at what was happening leading up to this fight. This is when China had first outbroken with coronavirus, and everybody's like, dude, how is Weili going to make it? Or, is her health going to hold up? Is all this traveling going to affect her training camp and all this? And she came out. She looked great. Ioana looked like Ioana. She looked like she was back to her usual self. And, I mean, dude, they just beat the fuck out of each other. There's no other way to really...
that was amazing.
There's no other way to really put it. I mean, Ioana looked like Frankenstein's monster.
Was that the best women's fight in UFC history?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I put it in my top 5. There's no other women fights in here.
No, I'm just saying, like, in general.
But I mean,
no, I don't think we've ever seen
the all-time great scale. There's really no women's fight other than them. I don't think.
Yeah, you have a lot of like big time like.
They had big fights, but it was
Amanda Nunes
never brought it like
out.
that.
Well, yeah,
but big time fights, but like all-time great. Because there's got to be a back and forth, right?
100%. I agree with you on that. So that's a good pick. I do like that.
Now, just a quick question for me to you, because I automatically feel like the rematch should be there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think.
I don't think Weili won that fight. I felt like it was like a John Jones type Dominic Reyes win. Like it was like it could have gone either way. I don't feel it could have gone either way, but I know most of the.
I feel like it could have gone. I feel like it could have gone anyway, and I think Weili deserved it.
Why?
Because I think she did the most damage. Plus, in the championship fights, I know people will probably argue with me, but in these type of close fights, I give it to the champion. Because I feel like you got to finish a champion, or if you're going to win by decision, there's got to be like.
You're going to argue with him like you did with me about that?
Yeah, I don't agree with that whatsoever.
I do. I'm
with you on that, man.
Because when you get
it's the same thing I said about the John Jones Dominic Reyes fight. Like, I kind of feel like Reyes
be the champ. You got beat.
Yeah, I kind of felt like Reyes won that fight, but I give it to John because I'm just not going to let a long reigning champion like that lose in a close decision.
Yeah, Ryan's like technicality.
I know. A lot of people argue about that, though. It's pretty 50-50.
Because my whole thing about it is when you get up to that elite level, I mean, you're talking about, like, minuscule difference in the talent. So, I mean, both guys are given 100%. I mean, you come down to the point scale to try and get to try and get the decision. It's so hard to get to that point where you're fighting a champion and then to finish a fight with a champ too. I mean, so if you have a close fight like that, to be like, well, it was a close fight, it could have gone either way, so we'll just give it to the champ. Like, to me, that's lazy. It needs to go to the guy that put in that effort.
If you're the champ, you get that benefit.
By inches.
I think
if you're champion, you get that benefit.
Yeah, but I didn't feel that way with Weili. I felt like Joanna won that fight. I felt like she outpaced her. I called it. She's going to pepper her. But for me, this was one of the fights where I saw Joanna throw the most power strikes, significant, crisp shots, round by round.
But I don't feel like she wore her Weili down like she usually wears her opponents out. I feel like Weili kept with her the whole fight.
I saw Weili she got worn out.
She got worn out, but she was able to keep at least somewhat of a pace.
She did her job in the 5th round.
Like, if you watch her fight Claudia, she just completely outworked Claudia. And a lot of those championship fights that she won, and like once the 3rd round started, she just wore her opponents. Like, they couldn't do anything. Like, Weili kept fucking throwing bombs the whole fight.
Yeah. That's true. It's definitely one that people are like, when are we going to get a rematch for that? So that was a fantastic fight.
I think for a lot of people it'll go down. It might creep in their top 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't blame you. I love that fight. That was a fantastic fight.
Because you know what? It made it over for me. I guess a spoiler because this is not going to make it. But I chose between this and Gastelum and Adesanya.
This was better than that.
Yeah, it was for me. Like, because like I have. Oh shit! Sorry. I have like the nostalgia of watching that 5th round. We watched it together, dude. We were like on our feet for that whole 5th round of that Adesanya fight, just going, "Holy shit! What the fuck!" Like. But this fight, from start to finish, they were just fucking throwing bombs.
See, the one thing about the Adesanya Gastelum fight is they dropped each other a few times.
Yeah, they did.
That was the other thing. That adds to the excitement because every time you have a drop, your heart jumps up into your throat, and you're like, "Oh my god!"
Gastelum was the one who landed a head kick.
Yeah,
that was insane.
I think a lead front kick too, or like a lead head kick too, wasn't it? I don't think it was a power kick.
I don't remember, but yeah, that was crazy. You were like, "Wait, what?" That was wild, but that's a good pick, man. I like that. I like that pick. I didn't go recent, but I like that.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it and I'm listening to you guys, I feel like maybe I might have taken a step back on like...
No, man, it's
the relevance, but these are like just like for me, like these are just fights that stuck out.
When it comes to top 5 all time, there is nothing irrelevant.
Yeah, so for me, my number 2, because I was a huge fan of both, and I thought one was going to be a springboard for one, and I thought the other one was just like, all right, we're just hanging him up, we're going to retire his jersey, whatever you want to call it. But my number 2 was Koscheck versus Hughes. I was a huge Koscheck fan, and I thought right after when he retired. Yeah, exactly. So when I thought when he retired Hughes that this was going to springboard him, and he only had one win after that, and he just lost, I think, 6 or 7 straight. But the one thing that I wanted to call out before we walk into that fight is listening to all these older fights, I missed the shit out of Rogan and Mike Goldberg.
No, I don't.
And the Eddie Bravo scorecards in between rounds, and we come back to that. I feel like should be implemented like it was in boxing, where they gave the score during the rounds. Mm-hmm. I really like that. I miss Mike Goldberg. I like his enthusiasm. I don't like Cormier. I don't like Dominic Cruz.
Oh, I love Dominic Cruz.
I like his technicality, but he's just like, it doesn't get me like lifted. And then,
well, the problem is they don't have a big personality there.
No, they don't.
I think your problem is with John Anderson because Goldberg, those two guys didn't replace Goldberg. They're just adding on to Rogan. Like Anik's the one who replaced Goldberg.
Yeah. I gotta say, going back and watching all these old fights, I remember how much Joe Rogan did not like Mike Goldberg.
But you want to know what's funny
though? He
just
ripped into him so freaking much.
Some question for you.
Yeah, go shoot.
In addition to listening to all these and missing Mike Goldberg's thrust to it, is when did fucking Joe Rogan start taking steroids? Because like when I first listened to him, he listened to like he sounded like Mighty Mouse, and now he sounds like some like big dude like standing behind a curtain.
Well, steroids won't necessarily. I mean, he does.
He was taking some testosterone.
Yeah, he's open about that.
Yeah, he's pretty open about that.
Yeah, he said if he had to take a USADA test, he'd light that bitch up.
It's so funny, man. Like he's like, yo, these guys are fighting, and then he's like, yo, they're fighting now. Like,
that probably comes from years of commentating, though. Because because it wears your.
It's so funny how much it changed over the years, man.
I did notice that too. Like, listen, I was like, man, I didn't realize how high pitched he was. But I think it goes to the same thing though too. Is like he's been announcing. He does like right now. He does the podcast. He does the fights.
Stand up.
He does stand up. I mean, he talks all the time.
But I felt like it was a lot different then. I liked it better than the commentating.
I think it's just nostalgia.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Anik's not. He's all right. He's nothing like special.
No, he was supposed to replace Goldberg. I mean, he's better than Goldberg, but Goldberg had a personality. Like he had the voice.
I like the European crew.
Yes, dude. If they've had years experience making soccer sound fun. Like, come on, they can make the
I don't remember the guy
fun.
who is like the Dan Hardy partner. Like, I like Dan Hardy and the guy that he works. I don't remember his name.
I like Dan Hardy too.
Yeah,
and I like Michael Bisping.
I haven't really listened that much. I've listened to him a couple times, but
I like Bisping.
Not enough to really have an opinion.
Yeah. I've listened to him on his podcast, but no, man, Mike Goldberg says the stupidest crap, man. Even during some of these fights,
he got me rowdy, man. He got me rowdy.
His precision is precise.
Yes.
That's pretty stupid.
Yeah, he said that, dude.
He says that shit.
That was a real quote. It was something like that.
That just sounds so stupid.
Yeah, and he says that shit all the time.
No, this is the best. I remember I was at Miller's Ale House, and me and my old lady were watching a fight, and these two kids were talking. He's like, I don't remember what fight it was. He's like, yo, dude, I think that guy's like Chinese Asian fighting. He's nice. And I'm like, I looked over. I was like, oh, what do you mean Chinese Asian, bro? So
he's Chinese and some other Asian.
And that, dude, I'll never let that go. Being at the bar listening to some kids say that. But back on track here. So I chose for my second fight Koscheck against Hughes. Koscheck was coming off, 2 losses to Jordan St. Pierre, but still they were great fights. Hughes lost to BJ Penn. He was getting, he was coming to the end. But like I said, I thought it was one of those fights that, like, hey, Koscheck's going to fight Hughes, and it's going to catapult him continuously into that weight division, and it just did it. And I was always a huge fan with Koscheck, but that round one, at like almost to the minute, 5 minutes, he just knocked out Matt Hughes like ferociously. Like, I was not expecting him to end Matt Hughes like that, and for me, it was just a great fight. Unfortunately, it didn't end up going anywhere, and it was a crappy way for Matt Hughes to end his career, but I was excited for Koscheck at that point.
Yeah, especially since he's had some problems outside of the UFC since his retirement, so that's an interesting one to pick. I was never a big Koscheck fan.
I was always a huge Koscheck fan.
I thought he was a douche.
Yeah, no, he was, but you know what? The same as any villain. He plays the villain well, and they called it during that fight. He plays the villain well.
Yeah.
Something like a Kobe Covington type.
There's some villains that you love, and there's just some that they just seem like
they get under your skin.
They seem cringy and just like they force it.
It doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah, that's like Connor plays to it perfectly. Bisping played it as well as anybody, dude. Bisping was a legit villain.
Yeah, he did.
Chael was corny.
Chael Sonnen was the worst.
I
was so happy when he got his ass handed to him.
Watching his podcast. I don't know if you guys have ever watched his videos.
No, it's pretty good.
Dude,
I take some pretty good facts from him.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, I'll need to. I couldn't get around to listening to it just
because at first I couldn't either. But
yeah.
It's just him. He's not playing the character anymore, and he gives you a little insight to behind the scenes.
I like
stuff.
him.
Yeah,
I agree.
Cool. All right, I'll get into my next one. This one's kind of weird, but it's funny because the reason I picked this was because of one particular moment in this fight. Anderson Silva versus Stephen Bonner.
Woo! That was a banger.
So it was a short notice fight. They picked it up in Brazil because I think, if I remember correctly, Jose Aldo pulled out of a fight.
Anderson was supposed to fight somebody, wasn't he?
I don't remember exactly. I know it was kind of like a short notice fight coming in, but either way, they fought it too. It was short notice for Anderson because I remember him saying that he was coming in. He wanted to fight at 205, so he didn't have to cut weight. But the whole reason I picked this one is because in the first round, obviously didn't get past the first round, he looks at his corner's telling him what to do, and he shook him off and put his back against the cage. Nobody else can fucking do that except for Anderson fucking Silva. Not just to hear your corner, but then to tell your corner and actually look at them and wave your finger at them like no. Like he should be teaching them. You know what I mean? Like nobody else can freaking do that. And then on top of that, what he did after that, putting his back against the cage, and then he's letting Stephen Bonner come and throw fucking punches at him. I mean, it was
hands down.
It was mind blowing.
His like swing is like straight Matrix,
and then he kneed him in the chest.
It's like straight Matrix the way he dodged punches sometimes.
That was the
besides
first time
the Chris Weidman one.
Yeah, that was the first time Stephen Bonner.
Dude, if you're gonna pick one moment though, like I would have thought the Forest, like him going Matrix to your point, where it was like a 3-punch combo. He just slipped, ducked under, and just fucking popped him.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
That's my most iconic moment for him.
That was gonna be like an honorable mention, but it was more so like the whole aura of it because that was definitely Anderson Silva. But like to be able to be in the moment, you're like when you're in the cage, all those guys say they're in the moment.
Yeah,
he still has the self-awareness to tell his corner, no, shut up, I got this. Don't worry about it.
I guess that's a good point because I've listened to some fighters talk about how like mentally they weren't there for a fight. Like they could see faces in the crowd. Mm-hmm. And, like, usually they have tunnel vision. Like, all they see is their opponent.
Right.
And for Anderson, I guess, to have that kind of moment where he's like, nah, I'm just having fun in here and just...
Yeah,
I felt like he was like that almost for every fight.
He was so confident, though. Like, I think more toward the end of his career because he was so confident in his ability and his defense.
Yeah.
He was just taking punches at the end of his career because he was bored, I think.
Yeah.
He was smiling off.
He's wild, but I just think just to see... I mean, Stephen Bonner, at this point, Anderson was 15-0 in the UFC. And then on top of that, Stephen Bonner never got finished. He fought at 205 pounds, okay, a whole weight division above him. Never got finished in his career, and then gets a shot to the stomach, puts him down, and then goes out. Like, he only had one more fight after this. I forgot who Stephen Bonner ended up fighting. But
Anderson finished both those guys.
It was
Griffin
insane.
And Bonner. He ruined him.
Insane, man. I loved it. Just for that one moment. Just like, or I should say the culmination of those moments together, just seeing him defy the logic of fighting to be able to go in there and do that just blew my mind. So that's my next one on the top 5.
All right. Move back to me.
Yes, sir.
So this fight, you probably know where I'm going with this. This was a way overdue fight that ended up being great because these two guys were in Pride for the longest time. Same weight division. They just never fought for whatever reason. People never thought about it. And then they fought when they were older in the UFC. This is somewhat recent, I guess. It's a few years ago. But Shogun versus Henderson, the first fight.
Yeah, dude, I was going to pick that one too. That's so funny that you picked that one.
Dude, this fight was another wild one. Yes. Henderson came out on fire, just throwing bombs, and it looked like he was going to finish it.
That fucking fight was insane.
And then Shogun's just like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to win this fight. And then later rounds, Shogun's coming back, but Dan did enough in the early fights. I just remember watching that fight going, holy fuck. Dude, there's no way Shogun's going to survive. And then he comes back and holy shit!
There's no way Dan Henderson's going to survive. Yeah. I remember watching that at the bar. Oh my God, that was insane.
Fight was just, for the whole landscape of the sport, it didn't really, I guess, mean much to the advancement of the sport, but it was like a throwback in present time when watching it because both these guys were past their primes. They weren't going to be fighting for belts. They were just having like legend fights almost, and they never fought in Pride.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
I think because more so than anything, Dan Henderson was still sticking at middleweight, and Shogun was going up to.
I think Henderson had some 205.
No, he definitely did, but he was still fighting between middleweight.
But those Pride guys seemed like they all fought each other.
Yeah, they definitely did.
Like they were all like, if you fought in Pride, you were a fucking G. Because you were going to fight whoever the fuck they put out there. There's no ducking fights in Pride.
No, for sure.
But nobody was ducking fights either.
No, absolutely not. That's why I said I could have picked
Pride was like they were the OG motherfuckers.
Definitely,
like, they were gangsters.
Soccer kicks, head kicks.
I was gonna say, you had
like
Shogun, Vanderlei, Rampage, Anderson, Henderson, Crow Cop. You had Emelianenko,
a 15-minute
Kevin Randleman.
Yeah,
you had all these fucking just savages.
Yeah, it was insane. Pride days were insane.
Nick Diaz fought over there for a little bit. Chuck Liddell had some fights over there.
Was that the one BJ Penn fought Machida? Or,
no, that was
a different division, right?
Yeah,
that was something else. So, but that was crazy. But that's a good pick, man. Yeah. That was actually funny enough. That was actually going to be one of my top 5.
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised we haven't hit anything yet.
Hit anything what?
Like any of the same ones, unless you're about to. You got it?
I did, but I already switched it up, so no worries.
Oh, no, don't switch it up.
That was going to be my second fight. My second favorite fight was Hendo against Shogun because, I mean, they went back-to-back on that, and Hendo pulled it out for both of them. And the second one, he actually knocked him out round 3.
Yeah.
Cold.
Yeah, it was coming after you watched that last one. So. But absolutely. That fight was wild, man. I'm so glad that you picked that one because I was thinking about putting it down. And I was like, no, I got another one that's in front of that. But
so, anything else on that?
No.
All right, so my number 3, just because it was a fun fight, even walking into the fight, when he came out and he was coming out to the song, "We Will Rock You," I was amped for this fight. And just to watch this dude come in here with a person with great hands and just outbox him. I'm talking like style matrix shit the whole fight. Cody Garbrandt against Cruz. Yeah. It was, for me, a phenomenal fight. And again, back-to-back, it's sad. I thought this was going to springboard Cody Garbrandt, and it ended up not. And I thought Cruz was kind of always going to be there, like, chucking towards that title shot, and it was going to end up being, like, another great rematch. I didn't think he deserved the back-to-back, but I thought Cruz, before he got injured, and he's been out for years, he was going to work his way back up. But to watch Cody Garbrandt ring control, it was just unreal against somebody like Dominic Cruz.
I remember watching that fight because I was telling people, like, Dominic's going to dominate this fight in the later rounds because Cody's just going to get emotional. He's just going to swing wild, and Dominic's just not going to be there for him to hit, and he's just going to pepper him and outpoint him. And that did not have. Actually, the opposite happened.
Yeah.
No, but he even the thing that blew me is not even just how he outboxed him, outworked him, outmoved him. He was so much more powerful. Anything and everything that Dominic Cruz threw at him, he either threw him on the floor, moved it out of the way. I mean, it was just...
It looked like a passing of the guard.
And the funny thing is, back to your point when we started off the podcast, you said, when these fighters get to this point, a championship fight, like you're fighting a champion or somebody that's going to be a champion. We're elite. Dominic Cruz did not look elite. He did not look like he belonged in that fight.
There was no doubt that Cody won that fight.
Oh, my God. It was unbelievable.
It was actually surprising. Like, I gained respect for Dominic because he took some shots and he looked dead at some point. Like, Cody could have finished that fight a couple points because he thought he knocked him out. He's walking off, and Cruz hit the ground and popped right back up.
He had heart, man. That was a good fight, man. They went back and forth, but I was just truly impressed with Cody Garbrandt, man. Watching him do his funky dance moves in the middle of the fight, it was comical for me. It was a great fight.
You like to see people when they peak right before they.
Yeah, I remember. But to your point that you started off with, like
kamikaze type shit.
I remember thinking after that fight, like, dude, this is going to open up so many matchups at the top of the 135 division, and then Garbrandt just hasn't been anything since.
No, he has a glass jaw.
Yeah.
So that's bad. Crazy. That's an interesting one. So, all right, I'll get to my third one here. It was the one that we were watching earlier. You guys already know. It's going to be Forrest Griffin versus Rampage Jackson.
Huge nostalgia one for me there.
For both of us.
Yeah.
The reason why I picked this one, and you know this, is because this was the first full card that we watched. This was the first time we got introduced to the sport.
That was the first fight that we were anticipating for. We
waited for it.
Yeah, hyping it up for a couple
wanted to
months.
go see it. We sat down with our neighbors. We watched our neighbors from Philly. They were big boxing fans. They got into MMA. They were like, "You gotta check this thing out." I think the first fight I ever actually saw and sat and watched was GSP versus John Fitch, which I believe was before this one. And I just remember, I'm like, people are he's making this guy all bloody. I'm like, people who can do this to each other. This is insane that we're allowed to do this.
I think
shit.
the first one I watched with them, you weren't there, but it was Chuck and Tito rematch.
Oh god!
So that was my introduction.
Yeah, that definitely.
And Keith Jardine knocking out Forrest Griffin.
Oh jeez, yeah. There's definitely a lot of fighters that you could have picked into the top 5 for nostalgia, but this one I think just because it introduced us to MMA, it really got
for me. It was,
we became
the superstar
fans.
Scale, because. I think that was the highest selling pay-per-view, I think, when it happened. Or maybe it was one of the highest selling.
Yeah, because Forrest Griffin, was a superstar.
And Quentin Rampage was, too.
Yeah, he definitely was, but I think, with the American fan, because Quentin obviously went back all the way, going back to Pride.
Quentin was the one who knocked Chuck off his pedestal, so...
Yeah, 100%. That was when they sent... was that... did he fight Chuck again in the UFC before
Yeah, he took his title.
That's right. Yeah, he did. Because I was going to say, because I know that he had beat him when they sent Chuck over to Pride to fight before the UFC ended up buying out Pride. But yeah, then he came over. But anyways, yeah. So this was a fantastic fight, though. It was wild, man. Forrest Griffin going in there as the underdog, and he was kneeing him in the face. I mean, it was just a buck wild fight. It was a split
decision.
Almost submitted him a few times. I mean, it was a crazy.
Yeah, I remember when they were calling that because they were like, and the winner by decision, and then Forrest didn't think he had it, and he started walking away. They go, no!
Yeah, because you know what? Our buddy's dad was like, you gotta beat the champ to be the champ. You gotta beat the same thing that you guys have been reiterating. I'm like, no, Forrest should have won that one.
I think he won that. I think he won it pretty solid.
Yeah. Yeah, after rewatching it, after so many years, I was like, yeah, definitely.
Because Rampage really only had moments. I don't think he really had rounds.
Yeah, very one-dimensional. He didn't adjust as people were bringing in kicks and stuff. He wasn't bringing
and wrestling and grappling and all
that. So yeah, that one's a big one for me. So as you can tell, a lot of it's nostalgia for me and how it impacted, MMA for me. So that was my next one.
So my number 2, piggybacking off of one of your fighters here. You got to go to Griffin and Bonner. It's got to be in your top 2, man. Because not just for the fact that it blew up the sport. It's the reason that the sport is what it is today. But also, it defined the term slobber knocker. Literally. They're not very athletic dudes.
Yeah.
They weren't, the best technical strikers, but they just fucking met in the middle and they just threw down. The whole 3 rounds, they were dog fucking tired and they just kept throwing and they just kept beating the fuck out of each other. And it was on free TV. It was on Spike, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was you hear the story of people talking about it, and they're like, the ratings throughout each round just kept skyrocketing because people were calling their friends and their family like, dude, you've got to see this.
Yeah, it was wild.
Like how you said, like when you first watched it, people were like, this is real? Like this can happen? Legally? People are allowed to do this to each other? It was everybody's introduction to the sport, the world's introduction on the grand stage.
What a freaking fight to watch, too. And both guys ended up getting UFC contracts.
Yeah, and both guys are legends for it.
Yep, 100%, man.
And even that first season, you want to talk about that first season, the champions that came out of that season.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The fighters, too.
Who were some of the other ones?
Bisping wasn't in that one. Maybe Forrest was the only champion. I know Diego Sanchez was in that one.
No, yeah, and wasn't Kenny Florian in that one, too?
Kenny Florian was in that, but he was in the champion.
No, but I'm just saying.
I gotta look up the list again. I don't remember.
Talk about some of these guys.
The first two seasons,
like legends,
like more than like half the roster from the first two seasons had like long careers.
Yeah, that's why.
Koscheck was in one of the first. I think Koscheck was in the first one.
I believe he was.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. That really springboard got that roster loaded up, and a lot of those guys were career guys in the UFC.
That's my only 3-round fight on there, but.
Hey man, that felt like 5 rounds.
It had everything, like it meant everything to the sport because the sport was literally riding on these two guys having a good fight, and they took it way past that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like when the fight was over, they're panning to the crowd, and everybody's standing there like, "What the fuck just happened?"
That was true. I remember that. Now that you said that, like they're going to the crowd, and everybody in the crowd's just like standing on their feet. And they're like,
it was such a good fight because only one person's supposed to get a contract. That Dana walked in and goes, both guys are getting a 6-figure contract.
Yeah. That was a long time before everybody on the show would eventually get a contract, or most of the top guys.
I think they still get contracts, but they don't get the 6-figure contract. They don't get the long fight deal.
Yeah.
They're probably on a fight or two deal where they got to prove it.
Yeah, that's a good pick, man. Always a good pick. I love it. Dan.
All right, well, since we're making it comfortable.
What obscure, crazy fight are you going to pull out of your hat for this?
You're really throwing out some wild cards out here. But I like it.
Because honestly, for me, man, as always, I think how we ended up at this point is I'm passionate about something. If something means something to me more than just like, hey, it's a great fight, like it meant more something to me, it just sticks to me, and these are some things that I just call great fights. But to go back to the point, like this was something that was just like a pivotal change. It was something that meant so much to the sport. My number 2 was the same as, I believe your number 3 was Shogun against Dan Hendo Henderson. And being that it was a 2-fight, battle, I just thought it was amazing. Both those fights were just so technical. Both those fights were just absolute, just brawls. And I think Henderson did a great job coming out winning both of those. I don't think Shogun even was close on either. I mean, well, the second one he got knocked out, but on the first one, I definitely wouldn't have given it to Shogun at all. So I thought that was a great fight.
He had some big moments, though. He had some big moments. Because, like I said, I just remember that thing being a fucking roller coaster. One minute you're like, Dan Henderson's going to finish this. And then you're like, Shogun's going to finish this. And then you're like, oh my God. They're both still going. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah, no, but I just thought it was great fights. I as well, always been a big fan of Dan Henderson. I just love that mighty Thor right hand that he could just put out there at any time. And who was that one guy? I know that Henderson fought him like late in his career. Big dude.
Hector Lombard.
And I mean, dude, he caught this dude. And I mean, they were like in a phone booth, and he just caught this dude. And I did not think he was going to drop him.
It was with an elbow.
Reverse elbow. Yeah, because he tried to kick him in the head, and his leg got stuck like on his shoulder. And he had his arm like this, so he just fucking...
And I mean, Dan Henderson, man, like all-American wrestler.
Lombard was terrifying at that time, too, because he came in with an undefeated record,
I think. He hurt Dan, too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think he came in with like a 20-0 or 20-1 record.
Dude, that was a great fight card, though.
Oh, my God.
I remember that was UFC 199. All those fights were great. We should do a top 5 cards.
Oh, for sure. That would be pretty sick.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's some good cards that I can pick out off the top.
Ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, but yeah, man, Dan Henderson, he's just an elite old school fighter, man. Like I like the wrestlers, but that are ground and pound, not like as Jorge Masvidal calls them, crotch sniffers, because you can find some really good ground and pound fighters, and Dan Henderson is one of the classics.
Yeah. Because you get like 2 different breeds of wrestlers. Either guys that are just going to sit on their laurels and they're gonna leg hump you down for a decision, or you're gonna get the Chuck Liddells. You're gonna get the Dan Hendersons.
I would say like the Khabibs and
yeah.
Like Khabib to me is like a aggressive ground and pounder. Like he's gonna tie up some limbs and he's just gonna smash you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or who was it? Gillespie was kind of like that, or he is kind of like that.
Yeah, for the most part. Usually, I think he had he had a decent. I'm trying to remember the one he had before Lee, but he had kind of a dull fight before the Lee fight. But anyways, yeah, for sure. That's a good segue into my next one because mine, UFC 100, Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping.
Dude, what a moment.
I think, and it was the lead up. Like it was. I never really liked the Ultimate Fighter too much. I watched like bits and parts. Like when I knew there was a fighter I should watch, I'd go and watch whatever week they were fighting or whatever. But I think I watched that whole season just because like I was ready for this fight, and then just to hear Michael Bisping talking shit. And the crazy thing is the UK team like ran over the U.S.
Yeah, I remember because we were watching that. Like the U.S. came in like like stereotypical Americans, cocky as shit, talking mad shit, and they were losing.
They got steamrolled.
I remember we were kind of like, dude, we kind of like Team UK.
Yeah, really.
I like they were classy dudes. Like Ross Pearson was on that show.
Yes,
I love Ross Pearson.
Yeah. And I just remember I was like, you know what can make up for this whole fucking season right now is all I care about is one fucking thing is Dan freaking Henderson, UFC 100. Talk about like one of the top 5 greatest cards that you can have. I mean, you had GSP fighting Thiago Alves, and then you had Brock Lesnar and Mir on that card. Like that was just a wild fucking card too, man. But,
I miss Brock Lesnar, man. He wasn't a great fighter, but I just wanted to see if like he could just brute somebody and knock him out, or get technically knocked out.
I will say his post-fight speech is one of the greatest ones after UFC 100.
Better than
where he's like, I'm gonna go home and drink a Coors Light because Bud Light don't pay me shit. Hell, I might lay on top of my wife. He's like, I told that motherfucker back in April he had a horseshoe up his ass. I took that shit out and I beat him over the head with it.
That's better than the beast right there with the balls are sweating hot.
That was one of the greatest. Him and Connor are in the running for best post-fight speech.
Oh my god, yes. I don't know, between him, Derek Lewis, and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody will beat the one-line phrase of "Who the fuck is this guy?"
That was a press conference.
Yeah, that was a press conference.
No, I know, but I'm just saying like a one-liner.
But the thing about what made Conor McGregor's like post-fight speeches so great is the fact that he timed it so well when he was like, "And I just am out here to apologize." And then they throw on his second belt over the shoulder, which it wasn't even his belt.
It was Woodley's.
It was Woodley's that they went and borrowed. And he's like, to fucking nobody. Because
the double champ does what the fuck he wants. I'm the shit.
I love that, man. Like, it's just
he sold you. He's like, because leading up to that fight, he was getting fights with everybody that was on that fight card. Like Alvarez, Woodley, like all these people. He's talking mad shit. Yeah. Cowboy, Jeremy Stevens. And then he was just like, I've been starting fights backstage, and I just want to take this time to apologize. And they throw it over his shoulder. To absolutely fucking nobody.
That was so great, man. That was so great. Jesus. But anyways, yeah, going back to this one too. And the thing I think that made it so interesting too is you could see the knockout coming.
Dude, Rogan said it. He called it because he's like, Bisping can not circle to his right.
I was saying that during the fight too. I said the same thing. I was like, why are you circling that way? That's his...
I think it was only moments before he had knocked him out. He goes, he keeps circling to that power side, and then as soon as he's done, he goes, there it is!
Not to mention that Henderson, because Henderson didn't talk shit that much, right? Like Bisping just rolled through the whole fucking show talking shit. So what does Henderson do? He saves it all up, and then not only does he knock him out, he throws the flying H-bomb
and
just for good measure.
He said it when they were showing it again. He goes, I'm not a dirty guy. I know when people are knocked out, but that one was just to shut him up.
Yeah. Because I think whoever was interviewing said, "Did you know he was knocked out?" And he's like, "Yep." I fucking love that, man. That was a great moment. I love Dan Henderson too.
That H-bomb was for America.
Yeah.
Japan wasn't the only one who got bombed.
Oh my god.
That's
hard.
Freedom.
That's rough.
Yeah, Japan wasn't the only one who got bombed in the name of freedom, baby. Let's go.
Hey, fucking A, bro.
Oh my god.
Sorry, that was a little too soon.
What the hell? Is that you, Dan?
That's you, yeah, Dan. Watching Ariel? Dude, what are you promoting other shows?
Dude, did we pick all your top 5 and now you're trying
No. We're only looking for sponsors from Wild Turkey, American Honey. That's it. No Ariel Hawani.
He ain't got that type of money, man.
Yeah, we don't have that kind of American honey or Wild Turkey viewership yet. So
yeah, we should go put an American flag up in the corner. No worries.
Well, you probably could. Yeah, but anyways. All right, but that was my next one. I thought it was a good leadway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of that, so. Sean,
all right, well,
I think this is our last one, right?
I think this is where I think one of you will agree with me on this one. So, Jones versus Gus.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, we're good. I'm clear.
I think a lot of people have this as number one because we talk about it had to mean something, right? Jones was dominating. He was dominating all these legends, just clearing out the division. Gustafsson was kind of like an unknown. Mm-hmm. And he gets this title fight. And John's out partying the night before, doing mad fucking lines of coke off strippers' assholes or something. I don't know what the fuck he was doing, but he wasn't training.
Yeah.
And just right from the start, Gus comes out with that fucking footwork, just popping him, pop, took him down. And
that was impressive because nobody at that point could take him down.
What the fuck? And Jones had to dig deep, and he ended up winning. I think the 5th round ended up decided, or it was. I think in the 4th round, he hit him with a spinning elbow on the top of the head. That was the end of the fight. I think when you rewatch it, like that's where everything went downhill for Gus. But split decision. A lot of people thought Gus should have got his hand raised. I kind of do too. But it was like
get out of here.
It was kind of like that. You don't really see it in MMA a lot, where like this unknown challenger kind of rises to fight who's people consider the GOAT. Take him 5 hard rounds and probably should have beat him.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was like the first vulnerability that you saw from John.
In addition to it, you never saw John Jones walk out of a fight looking the way he did.
Yeah, he had to get help walking out of that cage.
You saw his mouth. Oh my god!
He was powered up for that fight.
Like elephantitis of the upper lip.
He was on steroids. He was doing coke. Who knows what else the fuck he was? He was Superman during that fight.
Yeah, maybe coke makes him better.
Maybe it does. I don't know. But I
don't think any of us can contest that.
That was at Jones' peak.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. That, funny enough, that was going to be mine. I have some honorable mentions that I'll name, but yeah. Definitely.
Well, if you want to say anything.
No, man, I think you hit it there, man. I mean,
because it had a little bit of controversy. You got to have a little controversy.
Yep. I mean, that was modern times one of the biggest fights.
Yeah, I mean, it might not. From some of the fights that we've talked about, it might not have been the most action packed compared to them, but
I think it's probably the biggest fight for Jones. Like
the meaning behind
legacy for Jones, that's going to be the number one fight in it.
Well, and the technicality behind it. I mean, when do you see 6'5" guys with that much athleticism?
Yeah, that kind of like revolutionized the sport. Those
I mean,
guys.
yeah, I mean, you got 2 guys that are that freaking tall, that
using
big,
the footwork they were using, the technique,
the
crispness.
Like I feel like that one fight almost outweighs the 2 fights he had with Cormier, because like Cormier, he just fucking picked him apart. Like this fight, like it wasn't even it was a back and forth. But I agree. I think Gustafsson owned that fight, but
well, I'm telling you, like I think he doesn't get hit with that spinning elbow late in that 4th round, he wins that fight, because he just wasn't the same after that.
Yeah, it's the same thing as when he got kicked in the dick in the second round.
He just didn't look. He wasn't throwing in that second.
Nah, he looked weird. Like I think that's why
toward the end of his career,
after.
he just wasn't the same. Yeah. He wasn't. I don't know if he just wasn't seeing it or just wasn't taking the chances, but he just wasn't the same guy.
Yeah,
he put it all on the line for that fight, dude. It was just crazy to watch, because you're like, dude, this fucking guy Gustafsson is legit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, I remember how much I was just like sitting there, my mouth agape, watching his footwork.
He was just outboxing
because again, like I'm not used to seeing big guys that can move.
Dude,
like
he was
that.
so light on his feet, just bouncing
agile.
around, just fucking cutting angles, just crisp hooks and jabs.
Yeah.
Just pop. John didn't know what to do with his boxing. Mm-hmm. John was the one who had to make it dirty.
Man, usually he uses that bleak kick to just keep everybody off. He could not keep Gus.
Yeah, because Gus had that range to compete with him.
Why do they call that an oblique kick? Your obliques are here, so I don't understand why they call that an oblique kick when you're kicking at their knee.
You had to, huh?
I was just thinking about that today. I was actually hitting the bag, or yesterday I was hitting the bag, and I'm like, why do they call it? I don't know, whatever.
I don't know.
Food for thought. Anyways,
I'm sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kill the conversation. I was just thinking about it.
In our last podcast, the post fight, I was talking about Whaley. She moves her leg really weird. Mm-hmm. She kept wiggling it. And I called it out on the podcast. Actually, somebody, I don't know if it was, I think it was from another country, actually commented on our YouTube video telling us what it was from. It was actually from a training that Whaley had with a world-renowned Muay Thai champion in Philippines.
Oh, I saw that she was doing some stuff with him.
Yeah, but he commented on there, so you never know. I mean, somebody might end up telling us why they call it an oblique kick and for whatever reason. So
I think I was telling you that, though. I was telling she was doing that to fake a little bit, like she's getting you to read something that's not there. That's
it was just really strange on that fight.
Yeah, but it's because it's making you think about that kick now, and then you can counter with punches and maybe a front kick, whatever it is. So that's why you always want to bait him, man.
Yeah, no, Adesanya did that really well, where he did that switch kick to Derek Brunson. Like you thought he was going to go for the leg, and he just came up and cracked him right in the neck.
Yeah.
And then you popped them.
You do the same pattern for a little bit to get people comfortable with something that you're going to do. That's, I mean, just going super simplistic. You do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then you go 1, 2 to the body 3, or you do 1, feint the 2, hit him with the 3. You know what I mean? Like that.
Oh, well, for me, it was just a very weird motion that she had during that fight. Like, It was weird. Like I didn't know if I thought maybe like her leg was giving out, something was wrong.
Nah,
but
she
it
was
just actually
she was
attacked
fainting that kick. She was like, read it. But yeah, Senshi, dude, if you haven't watched him, I would highly recommend that you do that. That guy is fucking crazy. He's fun to watch.
Who's that?
Senshi, the Muay Thai guy.
Oh, no, I watched some of his fights after that guy
okay.
commented on us. I even watched Weili Zhang's training with him.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was pretty cool to watch. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
he just has tons of fun, man. He's wild, man. He likes having fun. He's out there. He's always smiling. Like he has his hands down. He's real playful. But he's good. He's good as shit. But I'm sure she did learn a few things from him. So good call out, viewer.
So Dan, number one.
Dan.
Interested to see where this goes.
So for me, my number one all time, I feel, is the best trilogy that you could ever have in UFC. Tito Ortiz against the Iceman Chuck Liddell. Number one, though. For me, that was...
Are you calling it as like the trilogy number one? Like the three fights kind of...
No, because number three... I told him before we started the podcast, the third fight was just crap. Like, they were like, literally like... Not even like, oh, you know, like maybe they... No, they were done. Like, they
you
just
mean the fourth fight? The one that...
I thought it was I thought it was the third one.
No, I thought they had...
No, that was a fourth fight.
Yeah, that was a fourth one.
Because everybody was like, why are you fighting? Why are you having this fight?
No, because I had
Under
it as...
Oscar
Oscar
De La Hoya's promotion?
No, the one in where it was in Bellator.
Yeah,
they didn't fight in Bellator.
So what was that one?
That was Oscar De La Hoya's. That was Golden Boy.
Tito Ortiz knocked him out?
Yeah, that was Golden Boy.
So who won the third fight for Ortiz and Liddell?
Liddell won
the first two.
Yeah, no, he won the middle two, I think.
No, he won the first two. The first one was a non-title fight. He knocked him out. The second one, he knocked him out. And then the third one that I had from me looking at
maybe you're right. I thought they fought 3 times in the UFC, but you might be right.
Yeah.
I'll check right now for you. Yeah, so he lost to Tito in 2018. And then, so he beat Tito back in 2006.
And 04.
And...
April of 04.
Sorry, my internet sucks.
He's looking at it right now. You're looking at it?
No, I have it all listed out.
Tito in 04, yeah.
Okay, so
it's 3 fights.
Yeah, you're right. That was 3 fights.
So you're saying the first 2 fights are counting as...
Well, I mean...
I think you can count a trilogy.
Yeah, because, I mean, they went... I mean, not... It's a trilogy, but not the UFC trilogy. So, but for me, I just felt like it being a non-title fight and having the hype and the circle around it. Because, I mean, if you watch that fight, the crowd, the way that they talked about leading up to it, it was just
they were former friends.
It was like the first big rivalry in the sport.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was an outstanding fight. For me, always such a huge fan of Chuck Liddell. So I wasn't really upset when I saw Tito Ortiz get his ass handed to him both times. He just got outworked each fight.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, he just had nothing to offer Chuck. He couldn't out-wrestle him. He definitely wasn't going to outstrike him, so there was just nothing for him in that matchup. It was just a bad matchup.
Yeah. Tito Ortiz is kind of weird because it looked like the game had passed him at that point, but then he goes and he beats Ryan Bader.
He beat a couple guys.
Yeah, he beat a couple random people. You're just like...
He beat Forrest, I think, after that.
Yeah, he did. So,
yeah, because, I mean, if you watch...
It's just weird. I don't know if he just caught back. I don't know what it was, but either way. So, that's a great pick, though. I love that. I mean, Chuck Liddell's, all-time favorite, legend in the UFC.
Because, I mean, if you see him come out in round 2, Chuck Liddell just went, straight Super Saiyan for all my anime followers. Just... knocked the shit out of Tito Ortiz. I wasn't expecting it to end that fast or to end that way, and he just came in round 2 and just blasted the shit out of him.
And you know what? I don't miss to your point. I don't miss Mike Goldberg. What I do miss is the shorts. I miss everybody. Everybody had their own design. And, you had the Iceman with his iconic
the
shorts.
Bumblebee for Silva.
Yeah, you had Shogun with the eyes from Valley Tudo, I think it was.
Yeah.
But either way, anyways, yeah, you had everybody with these iconic shorts. That
DJ had his black belt.
Exactly. Yeah.
Made it into his pants.
I mean, I miss that. Watching the old fights and stuff, going back, I'm like, damn, man.
Yeah, a lot of nostalgia going on tonight.
Yeah, for sure. That was what we were going to bring up with this. Though.
Yeah, but I just feel
any other comments on that, though?
I mean, other than the fact that, I just felt like between them and everybody else, they made the light heavyweight division what it is.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, you had Randy Couture.
I mean, up until John Jones, the light heavyweight was always premier because I had Randy Couture.
Yeah, but I mean, if you even think about it, Randy Couture, his last couple of days were Chuck Liddell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think so. That's because that's when the sport exploded. But he got
Randy
from beating
Vitor
back in the day when Vitor was 19. Vitor was a superstar, and he beat him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I thought it was
Shamrock.
a great
Yeah.
fight.
Early days.
Dan Servin.
True. Dan
Severin?
Severin. Yeah, Severin. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good pick, man. I like that. I like that going back. I'll say for an honorable mention, because there was a few that I was like thinking on the outside, like what else I wanted, but I mean, Jones versus Gus was awesome. I just remember like us getting hyped for that and watching that whole card. But Silva versus Belfort, I thought was just.
I think it's more just a moment.
I think the thing about that too was to see Anderson Silva. For me, watching Anderson Silva get hyped to fight another Brazilian, because one of the knocks on him was that he goes easy on Brazilians, because he's a very honorable, respectful guy. A lot of like casual fans don't get that because they see his antics in the cage and assume that he's just being disrespectful. It's a fight style. He gets you. He baits you.
Yeah,
because
Roy
he's
Jones
a counter striker. Yeah, exactly. Because you know what happens if you have two counter strikers that don't know how to bait you? You get Adesanya versus Yoel Romero. That's what fucking happens, and that's why Anderson Silva does the stuff that he does to bait you in. But I think seeing the animosity there, the fact that Vitor, he went on his killing spree after this fight. He got knocked the fuck out, but he went on a killing spree.
That's
after
because he turned into TRT Vitor.
Yeah, he juiced, he juiced for sure. But fuck, man,
if you're making honorable mentions, then you got to definitely throw Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Those
what about Lawler and Condit? I feel like
Condit won that fight, man. Condit got fucked out of a few fights because he beat Hendricks.
Jimi Hendrix and St. Pierre was a fucking brawl.
Johnny Hendricks?
Johnny Hendricks. What did I say?
Yeah, Johnny Hendricks. You said Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, sorry.
But I don't think Johnny can play guitar.
Yeah, man, it's the wild turkey. My bad.
Seems kind of rude for a guy to fight a dead dude. He's been dead for years.
Come on, GSP. I thought you were better than that.
Yeah.
I actually thought GSP lost that fight.
Against Johnny? Yeah, it was a great fight.
I thought so. I think most people thought so.
You know what's my honorable mention thrown out there?
What's that?
Hunt versus Bigfoot.
Woo! Damn.
You don't remember that?
Yep.
That was
Bigfoot had some serious fights in there, man.
Yeah, he did.
Bigfoot had some great fights.
That was like a classic heavyweight, just throwing fucking hands, nothing else.
There's I don't know. It's when you go back and you watch this for so long, man. There's just so many fights you can go back and call. Like, if you go back and look at honorable mention moments, like how about Gabriel Gonzaga versus Crow Cop?
Yeah. When he kicked him in the head.
Yeah, like to do something that Crow Cop was known for, and then to do that back to him. I don't know. There's
quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, shoot.
Who was that? Who was it? Minotauro Nogueira, when he fought that one guy and got his arm snapped
Frank
out.
Mir.
Yeah,
that was insane. Yeah. to get beat at your own game.
Maybe we should do a top 5 like moments or like a finish or something.
I felt like I did that tonight. So it's kind of hard.
I think the top 5 cards would probably be pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
Top 5 cards would be fun.
Yeah.
Because there's some cards out there that like have some outrageous like fights like throughout, like beginning to end.
Yeah, I've watched so many cards, man. Like I feel like I've forgot more than I can remember from MMA. Like we've watched it nonstop for I don't know the last 15 years ish almost.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah, because I'm 30 now, and I was watching. Okay, so maybe not 15, but more like 12, 13 years, like nonstop. We watched like every week, that we could. So I don't know. It would be hard for me to go back. I'd have to do some serious research on that one to go back and look and see the cards.
Oh, because Ultimate Fighter dragged us all in. I feel like.
I know UFC 100 would definitely be up there for me. I remember getting hyped for that one. Just because I think the names that you had on there too.
Yeah, and it was a milestone.
Yeah. It was a milestone. They made it a big
I think it was
event.
the first $1 million pay-per-view.
Was it really?
Maybe. Not $1 million, but I mean million sales.
Oh, okay, million. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. Like I said, I have to go back and do some research. Would. But just like the names on that card were insane. I mean, the way they hyped it up, and that was the one Dan Henderson knocked out.
That was the first time they had 2 title fights on the card.
Yeah, that was. Brock
Which is now kind of a staple.
Yeah, right. I know they seem to have that all the time. Hopefully,
and that's what I was saying with the Ortiz and like Chuck Liddell fight. It wasn't a title fight, and it was huge.
Yeah,
and they just don't hype things.
Yeah, back in the day, they had a lot of huge pay-per-view sales for non-title fights, but they don't have the names for that anymore.
Yeah. What's it doesn't have to be your favorite, but I don't know. I was going back thinking about knockouts and stuff. Yeah, any like nostalgic. Big time knockouts that you're like, damn.
Like Anderson versus Vitor or Griffin or Dan Henderson knocking out Bisping.
Yeah.
Woodley against Robbie Lawler. That was a huge knockout for me.
Really?
Yeah.
That was good. Yeah, that was a good one.
I'm trying to think.
I was the one.
What about Amanda Nunes knocking out Cyborg? Because we never saw that.
God,
Jesus
dude.
Christ.
That was insane.
Or Holly Holmes knockout Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Woo. Shock moments there. Actually, the one I was looking at was Rashad Evans versus Chuck Liddell.
Dude, how about for recency? Talk about recency bias. What about Shevchenko knocking out Jessica Eye?
Oh my God, that shin kick,
dude! It was so bad.
Well, she put that.
Dude, it was so bad that her coach, if you watch it, didn't even celebrate.
Yeah,
her coach stood up and was just like, "Fuck."
You heard it.
Yeah.
I mean, when you heard it, when they cut out or when they did the sign, yeah. Oh my God, it was terrible.
It's like a baseball bat.
Holy shit! Who's gonna beat her? She is so fucking good.
She's got to fight Amanda again.
Yeah, she wants to.
She should.
We'll see. But
I mean, I felt like it was a good technicality fight against her and Holmes. Like I mean, that could have gone.
Yeah, that didn't mean nothing. There's nothing for her in that fight.
No, nothing for Holmes either.
Yeah, that was done too. I mean, especially because she finished her still. So it was like,
yeah.
But I don't know. That was my thoughts. But I don't know. I was just looking. You go back and you start thinking about all the fights that you liked and stuff. So I was just thinking some of that stuff too. But it's been fun. We wanted to get away from all the Corona talk. Everybody's stuck inside for a little bit. Quarantine this, quarantine that. Don't touch shit. Social distancing, which I hope everybody is abiding by for the most part. We're just saying, we wanted to have some fun. Don't do that. Just have some fun, have a conversation, and hope you guys enjoy.
I think it was a good break.
The other good thing too is I liked how everybody had a little bit different criteria. You know what I mean?
I think you and me were the only ones that have the same fight.
Yeah, I think so. Well, no, that's not true. You had the Shogun one, which, funny enough, I was about to pick that one too.
I'm surprised that all three of us didn't have one.
Yeah, I am too. But you really picked some.
Yeah, Dan really had some wild cards.
really wild cards out there. But that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody had different criteria, and that's the other thing too. Is if you think about nostalgia and what it meant to you, everybody's gonna have something a little different.
Yeah,
So I think that's the other unique thing about having
how you were invested into the fight and where you were, how you remember,
or even the fighters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, were you invested in a fight or not? Like,
Oh, I thought you said a fight. My bad.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, because like you get hyped for JJ fights.
Absolutely. I would have put her on here. It's just like I said. I was so passionate at our post fight, and even just leading up to it, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to put.
Even
that
just
on there.
Rewatching that fight, I still think there's going to be an argument for that top 5.
I rewatched the fight, and I still think Joanna won. Actually, I even felt even more convinced that she won that fight after watching it again.
But that's also because you were convinced that she won going into it, so you were looking for that.
No, I mean, I'm not being biased. I honestly think that she won the fight.
I think she won the fight by very, very close margin, but it
I wouldn't have been upset with it either way.
Yeah,
a lot of people are like me, like you feel very strongly that JJ won it. To me, I think it could have been a tie. I think you could have flipped a coin, and I wouldn't have been upset.
Yeah,
I'm upset still.
But for me, thinking, that's why I go champ gets the benefit of the doubt. If it's kind of a toss up, the champion gets the benefit of the doubt. I know Ryan will probably argue with that.
Well, my one problem with JJ is that she tends to coast in the championship rounds. Like, when she knows that she's ahead, she'll sit on her laurels. So, again, going back to, like, that's why we need live scoring for these freaking rounds, man. We need that. Like, that adds a whole other element for your corner coming in and the shit that they're going to tell you between rounds.
Yeah.
You are down 2 rounds. You need to pick this shit up. You have 3 left, and you have to win every single freaking one, or you need to finish her. One of the two. Get in there and get it done. So, I mean, and the same thing goes for Wei Li, too. Like, if she was down, how many more power shots is she going to throw? Like, how much more amped up? Is that second win going to come a little bit faster because she knows she's behind? Like, you need that. That brings a whole other element to the game, a whole other strategy to the game.
Yeah, no, because perfect point, because I was watching the Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje fight. And after the first round, I mean, because that was a banger.
Mm-hmm.
Dustin Poirier against Justin Gaethje, and Gaethje was sitting down, and he's like, I think he asked the question if he won the round, and the coach was like, it doesn't fucking matter about the round that you won. We came here to beat this guy's ass. And you just saw Justin Gaethje's whole mood, like, I'm gonna go in there and I'm just gonna tear this guy's head off, even though he got knocked the fuck out. But it honestly, I think that all matters. Like, if everyone on that team knows what's gonna happen, you're gonna just push that much more.
Well, I think you get better fights.
Yeah.
How many times do you see guys who they're not quite pushing it because you're kind of tossed up, like maybe they lost a couple of close rounds in a 3-round fight, and they think that maybe they're the one that's up 2-0.
Yeah. I mean, Holloway said that about his fight with Volkanovski. He said that he thought he was winning. He said he changed his mind when he went back and looked at it, obviously, but he said he thought he was winning. Like, he didn't even think of anything of it. So you go, and he was actually talking about this with Rogan for having, I
think he kind of started the conversation.
Yeah, well, because Rogan's been talking about it, and then he asked him about it, and that's what he was saying. It was like, I thought I was winning that fight. He was like, I'll tell you that again. Like, if we were going through the same situation, I still think I was winning that fight. But had he seen the score, how much more would he have picked it up, between fucking rounds? So it's one of those things. Whatever. It needs to happen. I think it's gonna happen soon.
It will.
But it'd be. I think it'll be a ton of fun when it does. So.
That fight threw me off. I didn't know how to call it.
Which one? The Volkanovski fight.
Volkanovski won that fight.
Yeah, he won it on points.
Yeah. Didn't like the way he acted after it, saying that Holloway didn't deserve a rematch, how he beat him.
Now he's saying that he does.
Well, because he doesn't want to fight.
I was like, dude,
again.
you won that fight, but you didn't tear him up. You just kind of outpointed him. It's not like Max walked out of there no problem. Like, he could probably have fought the next day.
Well, it's the same thing as I actually really liked Volkanovski, but then he had 2 bad fights back to back. I thought, like, I didn't like the Aldo fight that he had.
Likewise.
That was a terrible fight. And then the Max Holloway fight. I mean, hey, you know what? To get by the 2 best featherweights ever, like, that's awesome. But, I mean, it was so lackluster.
Yeah.
It was just...
It doesn't really get you excited.
No. It's popping and
especially
out.
When you watch his other fights, he's a go-getter.
Yeah.
And then he... Not blaming him for it, but he fought the smart fight necessarily, not the really to go for it.
Yeah, pop in and out, keep out of range on these taller guys. And
you got to give respect to that. I mean,
that's why I said, yeah.
He did what he had to do to get the belt. And he did. There's no doubt he beat Max in the first fight.
And he went back to back the 2 best featherweight champs ever.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't put Conor there because he never defended.
Yeah.
Even though he knocked Aldo out, he should have given Aldo a rematch.
But still, you got to defend it for you to be an all-time great champion.
Exactly. So
it's got to be some kind of a run.
So that's why I said, like, Volkanovski. So, I mean, hats off to him for that. But, yeah, he doesn't get me excited. But the crazy thing is there's a ton of great guys at 145.
Dude, you guys have Beat coming. Brian Ortega's still lurking out there. Korean Zombie.
Man. Well, I mean, talking about, having to run it back, I can't wait till, now that Whitaker's mind is clear, I can't wait to see him run it back without Adesanya.
He was supposed to fight Till.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
that was what you were first talking about, and then he was supposed to fight
Cannonier
too. Yeah.
And then he tore a bicep.
No, he had to give bone marrow for his daughter.
No, Whitaker. But I'm talking about Cannonier couldn't fight because he had. I think he tore his bicep.
Ooh, that's such a nasty injury, man.
Bicep or shoulder? I think it was the bicep. Because after that, that's when he ended up having that he was going to fight Till.
Make sure that's close to you.
Yeah, my bad. We're recording, right?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys. Anything else? I mean, we touched on all 5. I feel like we got a nice long podcast going on. What time is it right now? It's 9 o'clock. So we actually only had about an hour and a half. That's usually what we cover. So thanks for joining us. We'll figure it out, man, because we probably won't have an event for a while, to be honest.
Months.
For months. So maybe what we'll do is we'll get back together once a month and maybe even just have a fun conversation like this where maybe bring back our top 5 favorite fighters or something like that, talk about them, why, etc., and our favorite fights of theirs or something. So does that sound good to you guys? Maybe do something once a month?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm down with it. But as always, keep following us. We listed it at the top. We're on podcast. We're on Apple. We're now on iHeart, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram. So just give us a listen. Sorry that we're going to have such a huge break. But huge shout out to one of my boys from Long Island, Dave Caterage, for listening to us. Get better, my friend. Hope you enjoy the show. And thanks all for listening. Guys, thank you so much for having me on full time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Welcome to the show. It's going to be a ton of fun. Everybody tune in. Also, if you have any ideas.
Can't wait to argue with you.
Yeah, tonight wasn't an argumentative kind of night, but.
No, we'll save that for when the actual fights start.
It's going down.
There's plenty to do. If you have any suggestions about what you'd like to hear us talk about, or if you want to join the conversation, please join us, or leave us a comment, man. If there's something that you guys want to hear us talk about.
What was your fight? What was your favorite fight? Straight up.
Who you talking to?
Followers. What was your favorite fight? List it out there.
I didn't understand where the dialogue was going. I'm like, Dan, I just listed. Like, all right. But anyways. All right, man. Thanks, everybody. We'll check you next time.